What was meant to be a powerful humanitarian moment in Jordan quickly turned into a wave of criticism after Prince Harry delivered a speech that many observers felt missed the mark, and when political satirist Jon Stewart weighed in, the reaction exploded online. Add Meghan Markle to the equation, and suddenly what should have been a routine humanitarian tour became a heated debate about authenticity, optics, and whether the Sussex brand is starting to wear thin with certain audiences. This isn't about gossip. It's about tone, timing, and the growing perception that their messaging sometimes overshadows the very causes they claim to support. Let's break down what actually happened. During the humanitarian visit, Harry delivered remarks focused on global inequality, youth empowerment, and the importance of international cooperation. On paper, nothing controversial. But critics argued the speech felt overly rehearsed, detached from the local context, and more centered on personal reflection than on Jordan's specific humanitarian challenges, particularly the country's long-standing role in hosting large refugee populations. Commentators online noted that while Jordan has been praised globally for its stability and refugee assistance, the speech lacked detailed acknowledgement of the country's specific contributions and instead leaned heavily into broad global talking points. That's where the backlash began. Jon Stewart, known for his sharp commentary and unwillingness to spare public figures from scrutiny, reportedly made pointed remarks questioning whether celebrity humanitarian tours sometimes blur the line between advocacy and image management. Stewart's broader critique, consistent with his long-held stance on performative politics, was essentially this: if you're going to speak about serious humanitarian issues, you need substance, not symbolism. While he didn't crush Harry in a literal sense, the tone of his commentary suggested skepticism about high-profile tours that generate headlines but leave unclear measurable outcomes. That framing resonated with audiences who already questioned celebrity activism. Now here's where Meghan enters the conversation in a more controversial way. Critics have long argued that since stepping back from royal duties, the Sussexes have worked hard to rebrand themselves as global thought leaders. Through interviews, media partnerships, and public appearances, they've positioned themselves as advocates for mental health, social justice, and equality. Supporters see this as evolution and independence. Detractors see it as overexposure. In the Jordan situation, some commentators suggested that the messaging style, polished, emotionally charged, globally framed, feels heavily influenced by media strategy. Fair or not, Meghan is often portrayed by critics as the architect of that strategy. There's a perception among some royal watchers that Meghan's communication style leans strongly into narrative framing, meaning every event is tied back to a broader personal mission story. That approach works well in Hollywood and corporate branding, but humanitarian spaces can be less forgiving. When audiences sense that a speech feels packaged rather than grounded in on-the-ground realities, they push back. It doesn't mean the cause isn't genuine. It means the delivery matters. And in Jordan, many felt the delivery overshadowed the destination. To be clear, Harry has been involved in humanitarian work for years, long before stepping back from royal duties. His involvement with veterans' causes, mental health initiatives, and African conservation projects is well documented. However, critics argue that since relocating to the United States, his appearances sometimes feel less connected to long-term program building and more aligned with high-visibility engagements. That perception gap is what Stewart's commentary seemed to tap into: the idea that advocacy must be deeply rooted, not episodic. The online debate that followed wasn't just about one speech. It reflected broader fatigue among certain audiences who feel the Sussexes' messaging can come across as self-referential. When humanitarian visits include personal anecdotes that dominate headlines, critics argue it shifts focus away from local leaders and organizations doing sustained work. In Jordan's case, humanitarian organizations have been operating for years with complex logistical, political, and economic challenges. Some observers felt those efforts deserved more spotlight than a visiting speech. At the same time, it's important to acknowledge that public figures operating outside traditional royal structures face a unique challenge: they must generate attention to generate funding and awareness. Media coverage isn't accidental, it's strategic. The real question is whether that strategy enhances or distracts from the cause. That's the tension exposed by Stewart's commentary and the backlash that followed. It's not a scandal in the legal sense. It's a branding dilemma playing out in real time. For viewers watching this unfold, the takeaway isn't that Harry shouldn't speak or that Meghan shouldn't shape messaging. It's that public trust is fragile. When audiences sense imbalance between image and impact, criticism grows louder. And in today's digital landscape, even a single speech can ignite a global conversation about authenticity.